Good evening and welcome to Literature in 60 Minutes. I am your host, Zandile Pooe. Welcome to the very first show of Literature in 60 Minutes. This show is basically about books, articles, poems, and other pieces of literature that are out there that we are going to engage with, that we are going to read, review, and recommend to our audience. And we are broadcasting live from Zoe Live Radio. We are also live on the Zoe Live Facebook page as well as the YouTube page. So thank you so much for tuning in to the very first show. I'm very excited. And tonight's topic is going to be wealth creation. We have an author interview that we have pre-recorded, and the book is titled Money Talks: Consequential Conversations to Create and Control Your Wealth. And we have that author interview lined up. You can stay tuned for it because it's coming up shortly. But basically the show was birthed out of my love for reading, and I believe that there are lots of other book lovers out there that we can create this platform and this space to be a place where we can share books, we can share articles, we can share all sorts of information and knowledge that will help and empower us to live our best lives. We will learn the principles that we need to learn in the different areas of our lives that will help us to lead productive and fruitful lives. So that is the basic gist of the show. I trust that you will enjoy this week's show and many others to come. Please connect, engage and comment. My personal Facebook page is Zandile Pooe. You can send me a friend request there, or _ at Zandile on Instagram. And I look forward to connecting and engaging with the fellow book lovers out there. Please send me your book recommendations. Let us just have the kind of space that we would love to learn from, the kind of space that we would love to take away the different nuggets and pieces of wisdom that will help us really become better people, one, as well as lead better lives. So like I mentioned, we have a pre-recorded interview with the guest author for this week. To the world, he is a corporate executive, a business mentor and coach. He is also a minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ. And he is coming up next on the interview.
Reaching out and touching you with inspirational music where it matters most. Zoe Live Radio. Zoe Live Radio, the abundant life experience.
And our very first guest on the show, our first author, will be Molefe Pooe. To the world, he's a corporate executive, a seasoned entrepreneur, mentorship and business coach, as well as a minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ. But to me, he is my husband, the father to my kids, as well as the bishop of my home. Welcome, Mr. Molefe. How are you?
I'm very well, Zandile. Thank you for having me. Good day to the Zoe Live listeners and to the Literature in 60 Minutes listeners. It's really a privilege to be here.
Thank you so much. So we can just get the ball rolling. The book is titled Money Talks: Consequential Conversations to Create and Control Your Wealth. And it was released a year ago, exactly around this time, if I'm not mistaken. Yes?
Yeah, that's correct, yes.
Okay, so it's been in the market for a year now. And I just want to get a feel of what was your inspiration behind writing the book?
That's a very good question. I was actually inspired by discouragement, which is very strange. Most people, have positive emotions that inspire them. But I was really discouraged by the general quality of conversations that people have around money. They were really depressing. They didn't really inspire hope. And I believe that it's impossible for anyone to extract value from anything or from any person if you are constantly speaking negative or speaking ill that person. And so that's what I found in terms of the general conversations that people had about money, and it reflected in the results that they got. This was also supported by some of the poor money habits that are observed around people. Constantly in debt. I mean, like you were saying that I'm an entrepreneur. I've had the privilege of employing about 150 people at some point. And so because I knew what their salaries were, I found that they were constantly, in money trouble, and they didn't really have good financial sense. So I really wanted to make a contribution into the space of wealth creation, money management, that will help people, in terms of their ability to handle and create wealth, but also elevate the quality of conversations to a much more meaningful conversations and engagement that we can have around this subject.
Okay. And having I've mentioned that you had line of sight of people's income, I'm sure it's not just the ones who are earning little, but also the ones who are higher up in the in the food chain of your company. Yeah. Now, do you find that it's easier for people to create wealth than it is for them to control it?
In my experience, I think both are equally challenging because they speak to different aspects. I mean, if you look at the creation of wealth, really the creation of wealth is about engaging in a long-term process, of you trying to find avenues where you can apply your skills and your talents and add value to people, because that's really how you generate wealth. It's really about adding value to people. And oftentimes it can be a discouraging process and a discouraging path because it's really based on trial and error. A lot of the times you don't see immediate results and you still have to commit to the process. It's almost as if you have to take the first step, without having seen the entire flight of stairs, but believe that there is a top, that you are going to reach. So the creation of wealth speaks to that, speaks to you, engaging in a specific process, having to understand, what the value that you are adding in the marketplace is, and then being sure about that. And then the control of wealth really speaks about the ability for you to come out of your comfort zone, come out of your predominant skill sets, and really try and learn how money operates, and begin to engage in conversations with what we call, experts or gurus of money. These are your financial advisors, your asset managers, because these are people that are making decisions as to which asset classes they're going to take your hard-earned money and invest in. And I find that most people are not active participants in those conversations. They're really passive because it's a field that is foreign to them. So control of wealth really speaks to the fact that you have to equip yourself with the necessary knowledge to understand how the investment field works, so that you can be able to engage meaningfully with the people that are handling your wealth and investing your wealth, so that you can also take decisions and direct the money to where you believe is going to give you the best of return. So those are two different aspects. One speaks to your own skill sets and your own gifts and the value you add to the market. And then the other one really speaks to about you having to understand the financial sector. Not in an expert detail, but just sufficient knowledge for you to be able to make decisions about your money and feel like you are in control, and decisions are not made on your behalf without you understanding how they got to those decisions and why they're making those decisions. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I think we sometimes fall guilty of that, wanting the financial advisor to tell us where to put our money and also take the responsibility of growing that money without us being in the know of what these asset classes or whatever it is that we've put our money in is all about, and keeping up with the information and what the market is saying at any given time. But now, an important issue that you take off with in the book has 5 sections, but is the money mindset. So I'd like us to talk about that, but most importantly, if you have a cheat sheet that you can give us for a winning mindset when it comes to money,
Please share that with us.
Yeah, I start off, yes, the book has 5 sections. I start off with the money mindset because most people are not aware just how critical a mindset plays just in the quality of your life. And oftentimes what I found is that most people have thoughts that are sabotaging their progress, and they're not even aware of them. So I'm really trying to help people to interrogate the kind of mindsets that they have around money. I think it was the great philosopher Socrates, I'm paraphrasing, who said that the quality of a man's life is predicated upon the quality of questions he's willing to ask himself. Oftentimes we ask ourselves a series of questions that are not really thought-provoking or soul-searching. It's like, when am I going to wake up? What am I going to wear? What am I going to eat? But we really need to begin to ask ourselves, challenging questions. Who am I? What do we believe? What value do I believe I'm going to add in the world? What's my purpose? Because those questions forces you to really think deep. And even a question like, what mindset do I have around money? And you'll be surprised by the information or the revelation that you're going to get when you begin to ask yourself that question. And if you find that there are patterns of thought, perhaps that are not aligned or congruent with where you're trying to go, then you need to make sure that you then replace them with the correct mindset. So for the cheat sheet that you've asked for, I'd say for me, a winning mindset for somebody who's really going to make any meaningful progress in the wealth creation process, or in any endeavor for that matter, is a person, first and foremost, who understands that money is the reward for the value that you add. So you need to be focusing on value. You need to constantly be asking yourself, what value am I adding in people's lives? And because people pay for value, if you are able to impact people's lives in a positive way, either through a product or through services that you are providing, whatever it may be, there's a myriad of things that you can do to add value to people. They will reward you based on the impact that your services or your products are having on their lives. Secondly, I'd say that somebody with a winning mindset as it relates to money is somebody who understands that money is a tool. And so the better I'm able to use the tool, the better results I'll get from that tool. So money is not necessarily an extension of my personality. I'm secure in who I am, and I don't really have to define myself in terms of money. But I understand that money is a tool to really help me to fulfill my purpose in life. And then the other mindset would be that somebody with a winning mindset is somebody who constantly takes action in the direction of the desired goals, in the direction of the stated vision. Constantly taking action, because without action, there isn't any results that you are going to see. So it's important that anybody who wants to have a winning mindset, it will be somebody who consistently takes action in the direction that they've envisioned. And then I think a corollary to that is that somebody with a winning mindset is somebody who really thinks big, who thinks out of the box, who thinks the impossible. It takes the same amount of energy to dream big as it does to dream small. So I don't understand why then anybody would want to settle for thinking small. And what happens with us is that we allow our environment to really dictate what possibilities exist out there. We allow our circumstances to really shape, the future that we think we are entitled to, or the future that we deserve. But we need to take lessons from some of the well-known entrepreneurs out there. I mean, if you think of the Elon Musks of this world, I mean, somebody just thinking about they can create, a spaceship and then get people to go live on different planets. I mean, that's unheard of. That's almost an impossible feat to accomplish. But it speaks to the sort of mindset that he has, that he sees, impossibilities, and then he works towards achieving those things that seemingly are impossible. So develop the habit of thinking big, develop the habit of thinking the impossible, and then put action to it, and follow it with constantly tweaking and reinventing, so that you can see the desired results. So those would be a couple of pointers for me that I would say are indicative of somebody who has a winning mindset.
Okay. And you also mention the state of your nation, which I believe links so well with the mindset issue, because you talk about the state of your nation, and I'd like you to take us through that and how one can develop a state of their nation in a practical way.
Yeah, for the listeners who may not be aware what we're talking about, I think all of us as South Africans know that at the beginning of each year, the president of the country addresses Parliament and the entire nation in what is now called the State of the Nation. So that happens annually around about February. So really, the point of the State of the Nation is an opportunity for the president to tell the nation what has been accomplished in the past fiscal year, what challenges and what obstacles the government had to overcome for them to get to where they are from a visions perspective. And then secondly is really to try and rally the nation behind a common vision, a common dream for South Africa to continue laboring towards the accomplishment of that vision. And then the State of the Nation is followed a couple of weeks later by the budget speech, which is where the Minister of Finance begins to allocate resources, to allocate funds to the various sectors that are a priority, to government. And so with the State of the Nation at an individual level, it's really about asking, somebody who wants to create wealth, the question as to, are you able to really give us the state of your life? Are you able to give us the state of your finances? Are you able to articulate with a degree of clarity and certainty where you are currently from a financial perspective? So it speaks about the fact that, are you even able to account for what you've done with your money? Are you able to have a budget, to tell us, what priorities you've been using your money on? So that's important, and also, undergirded by that is what's your vision? We can be able to tell what your dreams and what your visions are by your expenditure. So are you able to articulate to us what your vision in life is? What is it that you want to accomplish? Like I said, with a degree of confidence and clarity. Similar to what the president has done, and really inspire confidence in those that are listening to you to say, no, this person really is clued up about where they are in life and where they're trying to go. And sometimes I find that people don't even know what the state of affairs is in their own lives. They're not clear about where they're wanting to go. They're not clear about the financial priorities, and they're not clear, about what is it that they need to be doing with their lives. They can't give an account about the state of their nation, and so they live, without any form of direction, and that's a sad reality.
Indeed. And you also list the 7 uses of money, which I find quite intriguing. If you would share with the audience what you deem as the 7 uses of money.
Yeah, there's only 7 things that we can really do with money. And I'm going to try and list them in what I believe is the order of priority. So the first thing that you can do with money is to tithe and give offering. I know maybe some listeners may not be Christian, but I really believe in giving tithes and offering. It's about giving 10% of your income, of your disposable income, to your local church. So that they can continue, propagating the gospel, because it plays a very critical role. So we are supporting the local church to ensure that they continue propagating the gospel, as I said. So that's the first use of money. And then the second use is really for you to provide for your family. If you are married and you've got children, your priority with regards to the uses of money is to make sure that, there's food on the table, they've got clothes on the back, they've got a roof over the head. So it's an important use of your money. And then third to that would be helping the needy and helping the poor. I mean, we live in an unequal society, so there's a lot of people that are in need, or they may need our assistance in some shape or form. And so we can use our wealth to try and help them and give them, a helping hand in terms of trying to better their lives. And then the next one that we can do is really to save. Life happens as you go about living it. So sometimes, the car breaks and it's an unplanned maintenance, or maybe the fridge breaks at home, so you need to have reserve funds for you to be able to honor those bills when they do become due, when you couldn't plan them. And then the fifth one would be investments. Investments are more long-term. There's a difference between saving and investment. Saving is really more short-term, but investments is thinking about long-term, 5-year, 10-year time horizons. So that would be the fifth use of money. And then the sixth one would be passing it on. I'm a firm believer of leaving a legacy to the next generation. And that's how also you leave your mark on earth. A lot of people at the time of their death, you find that they've left their families with a whole host of financial issues like debt, financial problems and financial burdens, because they didn't handle the money well. So we need to live with the mindset of saying, what I'm doing, I'm building something that I can pass on to my children and to my children's children. Yes. And then finally, you can also then enjoy it. Use your money for your enjoyment. Go on a shopping spree, buy yourself a nice car, go on that holiday, buy that Gucci bag or whatever it is that you enjoy. Go to a restaurant. I mean, that's what you typically see in social media. And I find that sometimes we've got misplaced priorities. I think we prioritize perhaps enjoyment over savings and investments, and maybe even over thinking generationally from a passing on perspective is concerned. And that's what I feel like maybe most people struggle with, just maybe having the right priorities as it comes to 7 uses of money.
Okay. And now when it comes to, there's a segment where you talk about the money-making equations. And that part interested me a great deal, because I think as a nation, there's so much that we can learn from that in terms of which side, depending on which side you find yourself in that equation. It really is a poignant part of the book where you just make a distinction between the right side of the money-making equation and the wrong side of the money-making equation. I think if, without giving away too much, you can give a snapshot of what people can expect when they do get the book.
Yeah, I know not all of us are maths experts. Even in South Africa, I think the passing rate for maths is 33% or something like that. So most people have an aversion towards mathematics and equations, But I want the listeners to understand that there are formulas and equations that are always ruling our lives. If you look at just from a scientific point of view, the fact that you can be grounded on Earth is because there's a gravity equation. And I think it was Isaac Newton that was able to put it together and give us, the different components that constitute the force of gravity. And once you understand that formula or that equation, you can be able to manipulate it, to whatever use that you want to have. So similarly, in terms of wealth creation, you can either be operating under a poverty equation or a wealth equation. So a poverty equation has 3 elements. It's emotions. In other words, this is an individual who's always controlled by emotions in their decision making. And these are typically negative emotions: fear, guilt, envy, and jealousy. So most of their financial decisions, are taken on the basis of the emotions that are driving them. Anger, even loneliness. I mean, if you're lonely sometimes, you may not realize that, you can take decisions and end up with wrong people in your life. You can allow wrong people in your life because you are feeling lonely, and then that could send you in a downward spiral from a financial perspective, because relationships also impact in terms of your financial trajectory. So it's emotions. And then it's also entertainment in terms of what are you doing with your spare time. It's about the use of your spare time. And most often, people that are poor consume an inordinate amount of their time just consuming television without really, developing skills and developing capacity for them to be able to become better people. There's nothing wrong with entertainment. Even the rich do entertain themselves, but they take a form of entertainment that's almost educational, and they can use it also to help them generate even more wealth. And then the last component of the poverty equation is consumption. This is us really just being consumers of any of products, consumers of material, without really being on the production side of those materials. It could be clothes, it could be food, it could be anything that we consume. It could be even the television that I spoke about. We are the consumers instead of being the producers of programs, that could educate people or that could entertain people. So those are people that are on the wrong side of the money making equation, which is the poverty. But on the flip side, the wealth equation comprises first and foremost of skill. In other words, this individual understands that they have a skill that the world needs, and they're trying to apply it. And so skill, and then the next component of the wealth equation is skill and then opportunity. So this person is looking for opportunities for them to apply their skills. And where opportunities do not exist, they have the winning mentality that we spoke about earlier to try and create opportunities where opportunities do not exist. For them to be able to add value and apply the skill sets and the competencies. And then the third component of a wealth equation is really about production. It's about a person who's not just consuming, but is asking themselves, what is it that I can produce? What course can I produce? What business can I start? So you are producing assets that can add value to people, even when you are not involved in them. And then finally, if you are going to be on the winning side of the wealth creation, you need to be using what we call leverage. Leverage is really about understanding that you are a limited resource as an individual, and you don't have all the monopoly on the knowledge out there and even time. So it's about understanding what gaps you have, and then trying to surround yourself with people that are better in areas you are weak in, and use their skills and use their resources to try and accomplish your set goals, because you'll accomplish them much faster than you trying to do them yourself. They say, don't try and focus on your weakness, build on your strengths and surround yourself with people who are strong in the area that you're weak in, because then you can make progress much faster. So that's important for you to always be aware that there are those two equations that are always operating, and depending on what you focus your attention on, you are either on the poverty side of the equation or you're on the wealth side of the equation.
Okay. All right. The last part, and I think this part is actually quite important as a form of encouragement for people, because COVID-19 has hit all of us in small and in big ways. And I think economically the most for most people. And you speak about weathering storms in the book. And I think that you can just tell us what it means to weather a storm, especially a financial storm.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question again. I think, COVID, I think we know, has really upended the way people live. It's ravaged economies, not just South Africa. I mean, even leading economies like the US, Europe. So it's really had a big impact in just the way we do life, and in just survival of most businesses, and so I think it's important for people to just take a step back rebuild and reevaluate where they are as a consequence of the impact of COVID on their lives. But the first thing that I'd advise somebody who's been impacted by a COVID storm and it's impacted them financially, either maybe you've lost a job or you've lost the business or whatever the case might be, is to understand that storms are a common part of life. Just because this storm has happened doesn't mean that there isn't going to be another storm. So life is cyclical, and just because you are in a bad season now, doesn't mean that you're not going to come out of that season. So that needs to inspire hope in you. If you understand that storms are a normal part of life, it gives you a sense of comfort to say, so if storms are a normal part of life, so it therefore means that recovery is also a normal part of life. Mountaintop experiences are also a normal part of life. So I don't want people to wallow in despair because they've experienced this financial storm. I mean, we've had a 10 years prior, we've had a financial storm in 2008, 2009. There was a financial storm precipitated by the housing market in the US. So that's the first thing that I'll tell people, is that storms are a normal part of life. And then once the storm hit, the second most important thing that you can do is really to take inventory of where you are. I like to make the analogy of a tsunami that hit the Japanese shore a couple of years ago. Once those waves have ravaged homes and ravaged businesses, what the Japanese government and the Japanese people began to do is they began to evaluate what do they have left. And so you need to really evaluate, yes, I've lost my business. Yes, I've lost my job. Yes, I've been suffering financial setback, but what is it that I've lost people, I've lost friends, but what do I have left? Because you've got it in you to rebuild based on what you have. You may have lost valuable things, but you still have something of value that you can give to the world. You still have something of value that you can build from and start all over again. And that's my third point. Don't be afraid to start from scratch. Don't be afraid to start from scratch, because even people that have lost, I mean, there's a lot of famous people today that have lost massive amount of wealth. I mean, in South Africa, if you think of the former soccer player, Pooe, I mean, he amassed a lot of wealth and then he lost it all and he's slowly trying to regain it. Even in the US, you look at some of our favorite singers like Tony Braxton, millions of wealth that she had lost because of mismanagement. Even the former president of the US, Donald Trump, had lost a lot of money, but they understood that, the same skills and the same attitudes and the same competencies that they had to build it in the first place, they still have it. They may have lost what they had externally, but internally they still have the resources to begin to build again.
Yeah.
And then fourthly, I want to encourage, because I said life is cyclical, it's important for you to understand that the people that really are able to survive and weather financial storms are people who, in seasons of plenty, in seasons of prosperity, are able to build reserves. This is what we call the Joseph principle. If you study the Bible, Joseph was in Egypt, and he was able to predict through Pharaoh's dream that there was going to be 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine. But in the 7 years of plenty, he saved about 25% of the grain that they were able to produce in that season. And that's how they were able to survive in the 7 years of famine that followed. In property, they talk about if you want to get an investment or a property that's going to grow and mature quickly, you have to find the right location. And they always emphasize location. They say location, location, location. So as it relates to weathering financial storms, it's important for you to build reserves. Even if you can start building from 10% of your reserves when you are doing well, because it will help you in times of financial difficulty. In fact, opportunities, and that's why the rich keep getting richer, is because they've got so much reserves. in tough times, there's a lot of opportunities for businesses that you can buy, that are much cheaper because the economy is in a downturn and people are desperate for cash. So have cash reserves that you are going to make sure that in the next cycle, you are coming out much stronger as you're trying to rebuild your life. And understand that you've got whatever it takes. You've got whatever it takes to come out of this storm. You've got enough skill sets. You've got enough competencies to rebuild. Look at what is it that you have and make sure that you repackage it so that it becomes relevant in the new economy. Really, oftentimes, it's about repackaging some of the skill sets and the abilities and the competencies that you already have just to make sure that they become relevant in the new economy.
Right. Sure. That is some sound, solid, and very powerful advice. I trust that our audience will take heed and follow it, especially those who have been hard hit by this COVID-19 storm. But thank you so much for sharing all the salient points of your book. The salient points of the book, as well as giving a lot of insight into what we can do moving forward. But now I'd like to ask you to share your information, where people can get your book, as well as your contact details, if you're comfortable in doing that.
Okay. Yeah, the book can be purchased from the website www.moneytalksbook.co.za. So it's www.moneytalksbook.co.za. We deliver nationwide. So that's a point. That's a place where you can find the book at the moment. And then you can also contact me on 084-5858-989. Strictly business. You've already been told that I'm off the market. So if you call me, let it be strictly business. Yeah. So that's where you can reach me.
I trust my audience are those kind of people. They comply with instructions of that nature.
Okay.
But thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you. All the best with the book. I trust that it's going to grace the shelves soon, even though it's only available online at the moment.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much. Bye.
Okay. Thank you for having me. Bye.
Zoe Live Radio, the abundant life experience. Your number one inspiration station, Zoe Live Radio, the abundant life experience.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the interview. I trust that you gained something and will definitely be reading and getting the book. I believe that you will learn a lot from it. I've read it personally myself, and I will highly recommend it to anybody who is starting out on that path of creating wealth, not just from a personal standpoint, but also if you've started a business and you want to understand how a business grows. This book also helps you with that. But thank you so much for tuning in to the very first episode. I trust that you learned a lot. And next week, we will be discussing young writers. So please tune into next week's show. But for this week, thank you for tuning in. It's been a lovely time with you. We will catch you again next week.